All right. Hello, everyone. Very happy New Year 2024 to you all, and welcome to QuickSight Learning Series. To, to kick off this year of learning, we are starting with a session on latest updates to our QuickSight embedding SDK. My name is Srikanth Baheti. I am a solutions architect with Amazon QuickSight. And with me, I have Vetri Natarajan, who is also a solutions architect with Amazon QuickSight. All right. With that, let's quickly go through the agenda. First, like agenda is nothing but it's all about embedding SDK updates that we have made recently, and we'll walk you through what are all those updates. So we'll start with like seamless embedding. What is embedding SDK used for, right? Embedding SDK is used for seamless embedding. And when we say seamless embedding, what do we mean by seamless embedding? In this case, seamless embedding talks about two main aspects. One is your look and feel of your embedded dashboard that should blend nicely with your application. And second is interactivity, which is your dashboard interacting with your application and your application interacting with your dashboard. So when it comes to look and feel, we are talking about your appearance, which includes like colors, your custom buttons, your show hide certain aspects of your data, right? Then second is interactivity, which includes how your application can interact. There are multiple ways your application can interact. One is by passing parameters, by said listening to events from dashboard when a user is clicking on something, and there are other various things that are part of it, and we will walk through those and what are the latest updates as part of this. We will also cover that, right? At a high level, when it comes to seamless embedding, that is applicable to all the different types of assets within your QuickSight that are listed here. You can see like visuals, dashboards, sessions, queue bar, right? So for each of that, what happens is if we go to our embedding SDK link, this will be posted in the chat. Um, so if you go to this embedding SDK link, you will see that okay, QuickSight embedding SDK supports embedding and supports the QuickSight embedding context itself supports four different experiences, right? One is like your dashboard embedding, which is like your dashboard embedding. You're taking and embedding the whole dashboard. Then visual embedding, you're embedding just a visual from your dashboard or multiple visuals from dashboard. And console embedding that lets your author users to be able to take and embed those authoring experience into your application. And finally, there is search bar embedding. For each of these embedding types, if we go back here, we have two main constructs that each of these embedding types take. One is your frame options, and second is your content options. So as the name suggests, the frame options is when you are embedding any of these experiences within your application, you're embedding these experiences into an iframe within your application. So that is where your frame options come into picture. Your frame option takes like different parameters, and we'll walk through those parameters here. Like at a high level, there's like height of the frame, width of the frame, the source of the frame, which is your URL, and some events based on okay whatever is happening with the frame when the frame gets mounted, when the frame is ready to be loaded. You can take certain actions as part of those. So those are the events that you can listen to. Second, your content options. Your content options are what goes inside your frame, right? How you can customize that, which is where your look and feel and your interactivity and a lot of that comes into play. And content options include your locale, your parameters, your sheets, your colors, themes, whatnot. So, and on top of that, you have events that you can listen to so that your application can seamlessly act upon when a user is clicking on a particular data point, when a user is performing certain thing with the dashboard. You can take subsequent actions as part of your application by listening to those events. And those are your, at a high level, those are the two main constructs. So let's look at that through our SDK here, right? So as I mentioned, these are the four different experience configurations. Now, first, to be able to use to be able to use your SDK, you have to either include it through your browser, and there are different steps here that are provided. You can install it either directly on a browser by referring to this URL here, or second, you can install it as part of your Node.js application through npm install and create that context. Once the embedding context is created, then you have access to these four methods. Right? Based on your experience, what you want to embed, you can invoke one of these methods. And in that method, what you are going to do is you're going to take and create your so here are your four different experience configurations, and these methods, any of these method will take these two parameters, which is your frame options and content options, right? So once you look at the frame options, let's scroll down here. So there are different properties for frame options, like I was telling earlier, where you have a URL. URL is your source of your frame, what you want to load in the frame, whether it is a visual URL, your Q-bar URL, your dashboard URL. That URL goes as part of your frame options. This is your container. So within your applications, you have a container where you want to load this URL, where you want to load that iframe, right? So that is the container where you can define that container, pass that container as part of frame options. Then width, height, these are just like classic iframe properties you can think of, right? Attributes you can think of. Class name, if you want to have a custom class and you want to set that custom class as part of this, you can do that through here. And then this with iframe placeholder is was a new property in which was created as part of this SDK. And then there are like two versions of SDK. I want to talk clarify that we are talking about SDK 2.0, which is the latest version of the SDK. Uh, and with iframe placeholder, what does this property do is when you are loading your experience into that iframe, it creates that loading spinner, so that you can show that spinner, and then it goes off when your experience is completely loaded. So you're not showing an empty screen blank iframe, you're showing that spinner going around. And then there are different events, like we were talking about on change event. Each of these frame options, they support like error, info, and warning. These are three things that you can catch and perform various operations on that. And then there is a change event name, and these events is what a frame can have. No frame options, invalid frame options, frame not created, no these are like errors, right, that can happen. And then there is like events. When it comes to events, these are the frame events. As your experience starts to load, these are the events that are invoked. If you look at it, there is like frame started, frame mounted, frame loaded, frame removed. All of these events that can be listened and listen from your application and take appropriate action. I have not seen a use case for frame uh, frame events. Most of the times I see customers using the frame loaded event. That is when your frame is getting loaded with that URL to take subsequent actions as part of the application, right? So at a high level here, Vetri will walk you through a demo and code of like what goes in the frame options, how you can set up different things in frame options, and so on. Now, the second thing is content options. When it comes to content options, there is locale. Locale is your what is your different locales that are supported out of the box today are here. You can just set the locale for your dashboard, and all the resources or strings that are owned by QuickSight are automatically translated for you in that specific language or locale. Then there is event listener, that is mainly part of this, like which take content options, right? uh, where you have content loaded. If content is loaded, you can take specific actions. If error occurred, then you can set specific actions. Now individually, these content options vary for the different experience configurations. So there are like dashboard embedding. For dashboard embedding, there is different content options. But today, specifically, we are talking about updates to JavaScript SDK, embedding SDK. So as part of the updates, I want to highlight what was updated, right? So in the l- recent past, like in sometime in November, I believe October, November timeframe, we had something called data point callbacks, where your application was now able to listen to events and capture the data point that the user is interacting with in your dashboard and be able to use that to take subsequent actions. For that, we had added the some of these, like get visual actions, add visual actions, set visual actions. What these were going to do is, with this you can see if there is an action that is already created as part of your dashboard. So within QuickSight dashboard, when the author is creating the dashboard, if there is an action, you can get that action that the author has created, and you can customize that action by either removing it completely or adding a new action on top of it. So you could do like add visual actions. You could create a visual action programmatically, or you can set a visual action or remove that visual action. So these were additional uh, uh, events and hooks that were provided so that you can go and modify that experience configuration on a dashboard to be able to get that visual action, create that visual action, remove that visual action that is already existing. Same way, what we also added was uh, once you have the visual actions, now you could listen to that visual action and take appropriate action, right? But then for filters, this was a long standing ask, that for filters, our customers wanted, like, okay, but if there is not a parameter created, if there is no filter created. For example, you have a dashboard where you don't have any filters, you don't have any parameters, then there was no way to establish that interaction between your parent application and the embedded dashboard to be able to pass values to filter that dashboard. Now what we have enabled with this get filter groups for sheet, get filter groups for visual, add filter groups, update filter groups, remove filter groups, these 5 set of things, what they let you do is they let you create a filter on a dashboard within your parent application and be able to pass that to filter that dashboard at runtime. So that is your runtime filtering, where you can now personalize your user's experience based on your application knowledge of like who the user is, and then you can set those parameters uh, dynamically. You don't need to create a parameter in QuickSight. That's what I want to like highlight, the fact that there is no filter existing, there is no parameter existing in QuickSight on a dashboard, but you're still able to create that filter and pass that information to the dashboard and be able to filter that. Although the filter and the controls are part of your application, you're creating those controls. So now your application is in full control of what filters to enable, given the fact that, okay, some of the things that needs to match is when you're creating this filter, adding a filter group, you're you're mapping to appropriate columns in your data set, right? If you're not mapping to a existing column in data set and existing value in your data set, obviously there will be no action that will be taken. So that was your filter. Another ask for from our customers was they wanted to be able to do runtime theming. So for runtime theming, we have enabled get set theme and set theme override. So in this case, there are a few things that you can do. One thing is you can set a default theme for a user. Based on the user, you can say, okay, I have created this theme in QuickSight. I want to assign this theme for my tenant A, tenant B, tenant C, or user A, user B, user C, depending on their preferences, right? That is one use case. But then when it comes to other use cases for theming, the other use cases for theming are you wanted to create a brand new theme at runtime. You don't have a theme defined in QuickSight. You want to create that theme and you want to apply that theme at runtime within that embedded dashboard view. You can do that with that set theme override, where you can create the theme configuration. It's a new object, which is your theme object configuration. You can pass that configuration and override the theme. So that is the new features that we have launched recently to override those theming configurations and override that filter configurations. Even like, it's not just adding a filter, right? If you have a filter already in place but you do not want a user to be able to see that filter, in the past you were going and removing that filter from dashboard or hiding that filter from dashboard and publishing it as a new dashboard. Now you do not have to do that. You can just get the filter configuration and remove the filter group, so that you have on a single dashboard you can create that multiple use cases, right? So that is what we have launched, like with data point callbacks. We have runtime filters and runtime theming capabilities that we have launched recently as part of our embedding SDK, and these are applicable across the board for dashboard, for visual, and all of that information and implementation is available here. How you can do, like for example, parameter passing happens within the content options, and there should be a theme experience here. Let's see. I think theme search for. So here it explains how the set theme works. You have your embedded dashboard experience. Once you create the context, you create the experience. Using that experience, you can just set the theme and you can pass the theme ARN here. So that you can override that theme at runtime, or you can set the theme by default for the user, or the set theme override is the one that is used for overriding, where you can create your color palette completely and be able to override a theme that is already loaded in your dashboard. So this is like again using the experience configuration, embedded dashboard experience. You can do that. So let me go back to slides. So here, if we look at it, like I was telling, showing on our embedding SDK website, we have launched main functionality that was recently launched was runtime data callbacks, runtime theming, and runtime filtering. And all the details are in the SDK. The link is shared in the chat or is available through our community, where you can go and reach to our SDK landing page and go through all the configurations. With that, I would like to hand it over to Vetri to walk you through demo and explain how these can be used. Vetri, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Shrikant, for the detailed explanation of what is new. And I'm going to share my screen and show you how all these new features will enhance the user experience in the dashboard that you are embedding in your application. So let me share my screen. So if you look here, I have rendered the dashboard. Let me refresh the page again. I have rendered a dashboard with some default theme, right? And what you can do is that you can also change the theme programmatically. So here, if you look at it, anything above this visuals is part of my application, and anything below this is from QuickSight embedding, right? So first, let me change a user. So now what you can do is that you can have some personalization option in your application, where for a specific user, you could set the theme to be something different from what the original theme in which the dashboard was published. So earlier it used to be a challenge where at the time of embedding, you cannot determine what theme to be used. So if you want to have a different theme for, say, for example, if you're an ISV customer, for different theme for different customers of yours, then you probably end up creating different copies of the dashboard. But now what you can do is that You can have the same dashboard and you can just change the theme at the runtime depending on for which customer or for which user you are embedding that dashboard for, right? And not only that, so you can also whenever you want to update the theme, we saw two options, right? One is set theme and the other one is set theme override. This comes in handy where you want to have a particular theme or you have some predefined theme that you want to flip between, then you can do that using this set theme option. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm in classic. I'm going to say move to switch it to Seaside. I can switch to Seaside, right? Or you want to go for Rainier, I can do it as well. So this gives you some freedom, but also some control over what is the overall user experience for that particular whenever you change the theme has to be. Like one good example is like you want to switch between dark and light theme of whenever your application changes theme, you want to switch it, you could do that as well. And the other option that we saw was this set theme override, where you don't necessarily have to change the entire theme, but you want to change some aspect of the theme, right? So that is what we are going to demonstrate here. Again, it is coming from application at runtime, right? Or dynamically or programmatically. So the font for my dashboard, whenever I set the theme was, or in this particular Rainier theme was Amber. So now I'm going to change it to say Comic New. So if you look at it, the colors didn't change. The color palette of the theme is retained, but it is just the font of the theme has changed. So you can switch it between any font and then it should be able to render in that particular font. And you can see that we are not re-rendering the entire dashboard, right? So it is all happening within the same render. So even from your end user's experience, it is not going to be a full page refresh, but it is just a change of whatever the items that you want to change. In this case, it is font. You could also do a color palette. Say if you have your own color palette, then you could do that as well. So here I'm changing the entire color palette and I'm defining it here and I'm changing it. So all this is happening with just one single embedding session without having the full page refresh. So this is on the setting themes. And you also have an option like we explained that you can, Shrikant covered on how you can add dynamic filters to your dashboard, right? So this will be useful in a case where for certain users, you want to provide certain set of filters, and for other users, you want to hide that or you do not want to have certain set of filters, right? So what you can do is that you can, by default, not at the time of creation of the dashboard, but at the time of rendering or whenever the user is interacting and you are rendering the dashboard for the user, you can create a filter. So this filter, again, it is coming from, if you look at it, as I mentioned, this is not QuickSight's dashboard, right? QuickSight's component. This is from your application. You set up a filter and you are sending the filter details to QuickSight. Right? Before this enhancement came in, what you will have to do in order to achieve this one is that you have to, at the time of design, create a parameter for the particular filter in case you want to pass it from your application, right? Or you want to show a filter by default in QuickSight, you have to create it all at the time of design and then publish it, right? And you may have to use some rules to show or display the filters. Now, all this can be achieved just using the APIs. You can programmatically and dynamically, depending on who the user is, you can add filters or remove the filters as well, right? So if you look at this one, if I go to the dashboard or the analysis of this particular dashboard, you see here, there are no filters added or no parameters or anything added. So you don't have to define any of these things in your dashboard at the time of designing or publishing. But you can still go ahead and add the filters at the time of embedding. So this will be useful for some role-based experience that you want to provide, right? And the next thing that we talked about is some customized action, right? QuickSight natively supported you to give some actions by default, right? So again, that is something that you'll have to add to in visual at the time of design. So you go here, you can go to the interactions and you can add an action, right? And the challenge with this method of adding an action at the time of design is that all the users who would want to have all the users who have access to that visual will have that action available, right? So say again, coming back to customizing some of the experience depending on the role or depending on the user or depending on the customer, you want to enable certain actions, right? What you may have to do is that you may have to create a couple of visuals and programmatic and based on the rules, you will have to hide or show that particular visual with those set of actions. It would work. It has been working, but the thing is, in the long term, sometimes you may have the maintenance of the dashboard and everything might become a challenge with too many number of visuals for the same purpose. Now, what you can do with this particular experience or enhancement is that you can add an action even programmatically. So let me quickly switch to another demo where we have the actions enabled. Okay. So let me log in here. Let me go to the dashboard. So if you look at this visual, it doesn't have any actions enabled at the time of creation. But if you look at this particular option here, when you right click, we enable an action called notify customer. And all these actions were enabled through the SDK. I can quickly show the code where it is done and how we are enabling it. But if you look at it right, so when you click on this action, and Shrikant mentioned the data point callback that was released sometime towards the second half, sometime in the second half of last year, we enabled data point callback. So you can add this dynamic data point callback with this action. So if you click on this notify customer, if you look at this one, right, I'm looking at charging renewal amount 991. So let's click notify customer. Yeah, so 991. So what we are doing is that with that action, we are able to send the data from your application, from QuickSight dashboard that is embedded into your application. So what you can do with that capability is that now you can again add actions dynamically based on who the user is. And you can also pass that particular data point into your application. So this will help you in building more insight-driven workflow in your application. So in this case, say, for example, I'm looking at all the renewals, and for one of the renewals, I'm going to click, and I'm emailing the customer about the renewal and any discounts that we are offering for them to retain that customer, right? So, so you are taking some insight-driven actions and initiating a workflow from your embedded dashboard. So, so this is the another capability that we released this year. So with this, we complete the demonstration of the new capabilities in the SDK 2 of QuickSight embedding. So thank you all.
Yeah, you want to walk through the code for
Okay.
back quickly? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So let me go here. So first thing is we talked about adding the themes, right? The themes were changing. So let us go ahead and look for the set themes. So here, if you look at it, right? So once you get the embedded dashboard experience, you are setting the theme using the set theme code. So here, what you are doing is that whenever you have an update theme call, this is from your function, you are using the experience and you are calling the set theme option. And here you have to, we are changing the whole theme to a predefined theme. So you have to maintain the theme ARN, right? The other option that we got is that set theme override. So that is what we are using here. So you saw an option where we had the capability to change just the font. So that is what we are doing here. So we are not changing the entire theme, but we are just going to update the font. So in that case, here we are showing it for the dashboard. Yeah, here's the one for the dashboard. So we are changing the set theme over, setting the set theme override, and we are passing the font family to be different. And this font ID is coming from the application. So if you look at this one, yeah, we talked about we demonstrated it for dashboard, but you can also do it for visuals as well, right? Anything that you have embedded, so you should be able to set it for the visuals as well, right? And the other one is the actions, right? First, let us, or the filter group. We'll talk about the filter group. So filter group. So if you see here, again, it is coming up for the embedded dashboard experience. You are going to use the function to use the filter group. And here, if you look at the demonstration, the code, we are saying the status is enabled, and you are defining the filter group here. So it is going to be for the region, and it is going to be for a single data set. And all these details are being mentioned here. And then you are going to add that filter group to the dashboard experience dynamically, right? And you can also update it or remove the filter group. If whenever you think that you want to change the category, or you want to change if you want to remove the category filter and want to add something, you can use either the update filter group or remove filter group. So this is the way you can add or remove the filter groups dynamically. And the other one is the visual actions, right? Let me see. We got visual actions or actions. Yeah. So here, if you look at it, this is the notify customer action that you saw in the demonstration, right? So we are going to add a visual action to a particular sheet ID and the visual ID. We are passing the details of which sheet and which visual that you need to add this action to be, right? And the the actual action definition is coming up here. So if you see here, you are showing the here is the definition. So it is a data point menu callback action. And this is the action name. This is what you saw whenever I right click, you saw this name. So the action name and the callback operations, right? So once you do this one, whenever there is a this basically adds the visual action to the visual. And here you see another event, the callback operation invoked event, right? So this is the one, whenever you click on the notify customer, this event gets triggered in the QuickSight embedding experience. And then you can now get the data point into your application, right? From that QuickSight dashboard, you are able to get that particular data point into your application. Now here, what I'm doing is that I'm extracting the data using some, it depends on how the JSON format is structured of the data point. So I'm extracting it and I'm getting the aggregated data, and then I'm taking it into my own applications workflow. So this is how you are using the dynamic action, and you are getting the data from that particular dynamic action and use it in your application. So with that, yeah, we conclude those 3 updates to the QuickSight embedding SDK, JavaScript SDK, and we also saw a demo. And yeah, this URL is something that you could use. And if you are able to right click on this and look at the source, you should be able to see the entire working of the code that I walked through should be available on this one as well.